Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Tenable Prometheus. So who's Tenable? It's the budget brand of concept knives, which many of you will be familiar with from my channel and other channels like mine. Concept does make very nice knives both in the premium end and in the budget end of the knife world. So it's kind of similar to how Artisan Cutlery has CJRB and a number of other companies. But up until now, Concept Knives has never had their own specific budget brand, and they're doing some really, really interesting stuff. So I'm going to be sharing all of that with you today. This is available in a couple of different configurations. I will link it down in the description so you guys can check it out. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to Concept / Tenable for sending it in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at the_metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. By the way, this is not an expensive knife, but you'll know that if you check the link. But the overall length is about 7.5 inches. Blade length is about 3.25. Cutting edge is about 3 inches. How about some size comparisons? Any custom skills you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. Up against the AD10 and the AD20.5. Definitely very similar to the AD20.5 in overall length. Let's go ahead and put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian. No, the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Once again, closer to the smaller one here, but with more cutting edge. And then finally, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How's the action? Action's good. It's no different than a lot of other budget brands that I have experienced. The liner is very easily accessible. It is a hard 90 degrees, which I wish they would scallop out a bit, but it's not bad. Move that over, it drops. The detent ball's up on the face of the blade. Goes down into the closed position, nice detent, nice low profile flipper tab. It's clearly made by a knife company that's been making knives for a bit, and they know who their target audience is. They know the types of things that we're gonna nitpick. And yeah, they've done a good job here. This is pretty cool. The detent is great, which really needs to be the case if you're gonna do one of these little sort of upward slanted, low profile flipper tabs. It works really well. It's not going to be the most satisfying flip of all time. And especially if you're going to push button it, that flipper tab is going to angle up into your index finger, but it's fine. It does a good job, especially considering what it is and what the price is. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's a little thicker than stuff like the Para 3, not by much. Length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. This is a pretty compact knife. It's not going to be a whole lot bigger than knives like the Para 3. In fact, it's not bigger at all. It's just slightly thicker. It's not even as tall. Definitely nowhere near the same size as the PM2. Materials. What are we looking at for materials here? We're looking at layered G10, which is pretty cool. It's not, unheard of at this territory, but it's cool. And I also like the black and red look and how they've done it. It's a piece of black G10 on top of red G10, and then they've milled into it enough to give it this highlighted area. They've also given you a red pivot collar, which is neat. And again, not something that we see. So layered G10 steel liners. This is a titanium pocket clip, which is not something that is advertised on any of the retailers that are listing this. Truthfully, I don't know if they advertise that on their own website, but that's a big deal, right? That's like something that Miguron was doing, and pretty much nobody, I mean, there's other companies that have done it, but that's neat. I mean, it's definitely more expensive than a steel clip, and it's also milled. It's not my favorite style, and it's way too big, but it's worth noting for sure, especially considering lots of other companies don't do that. So what's the steel? The steel is 14C28N. I'm trying to see. There it is. Yeah, right there. 14C28N, which is great. This has like one of the best balances in terms of potential performance. 14C28N is not going to win any awards in the edge retention department. I had a discussion with somebody who was very confused on my perspective on this, so I'll make sure that everybody knows. 14C28N, and a lot of where I get this information is from Knife Steel Nerds. Laren Thomas did an article a while back on the best budget knife steel, and he emphasizes a good balance of potential edge retention and toughness is ideal from his perspective. Now, I'm not nearly, I have no way of testing steel like Laren Thomas does, right? He's an actual metallurgist. So I'm going to lean in slightly to what he says and then kind of mash it together with my own very, very basic daily usage of a pocket knife. So take this with a grain of salt. But I agree with that article. I think that a good balance of those elements is certainly necessary. I don't put, all of my own personal idea of what makes a great steel. I don't lean in completely and totally to edge retention. I think a balance of things is good. So 14C28N is going to have one of the best balances in the budget territory. But that when you hear people say 14C28N is the best steel in the budget category, a lot of people immediately default to, oh, that means the best edge retention. No. It's not going to win any awards in that territory, but it does have a fantastic balance of edge retention or potential edge retention, toughness, corrosion resistance, and ease of maintenance, for sure. So that's great. If you think like that, then you will love 14C28N. Anyways, those are your materials. Pretty darn good, considering the price tag. Let's go ahead and weigh the knife. So steel liners underneath is going to be heavier than you might think. 3.7 ounces, not bad, right? Not perfect ratios. Balance, I believe, is slightly back of the pivot, but not much, like right there. Still feels pretty good, just slightly chunky. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to go ahead and get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. The pivot is a T8, and it is it free spinning? Let's try and release this. It does want a free spin. So this isn't the biggest deal in the world, but it is annoying. I think we've reached a point in the knife world where a free spinning pivot is just essentially like why? D-shaped pivot barrels or create a captive Chicago end of the pivot. It's just annoying to have to use two drivers. I mean, most of us have two drivers, but we don't like to use it, right? So, little nitpick. The body screws are T6. We have T6 screws for the pocket clip and no mounting position for lefty clip mount. So that's kind of a bummer. As long as you have the right tools for the job, though, you should be good to go. Let's measure blade stock thickness real quick. Blade stock thickness coming in at 130 thousandths, so it's right there in the middle of the road. Okay, meat and potatoes time. This is not a new profile. It is certainly a blade and handle profile that we have seen in the past, and it is okay in terms of ergonomics. This little hook shape right here, this 90, when you are holding the knife, that's what's digging into your index finger. So I'm noticing that, and my usual nitpick with long pocket clips relative to the body is definitely going to be present here. You're feeling the end of the clip right here in the middle of your hand, which is not a big deal if you're doing light cuts, right? But if you take this out and you're going to cut for like a long period of time, let's say you got a lot of boxes built up in your garage. I do this periodically, which is where I get most of my, this is like the heaviest use that a lot of my knives get, right? I don't go out and bushcraft. I don't go level up my bushcraft skill on a even once a year. I'm just a regular Joe using pocket knives, right? But if you're going to go out and break down thick cardboard from built up, boxes in your garage or something for 20, 25 minutes at a time, yeah, a pocket clip in that position will definitely wear into your hand. You can wear gloves, but I think on, most pocket knives, generally speaking, it's best to keep the bill of the clip behind the 50% line of the handle. That way it's back here, which is much more comfortable after a long period of time than up here. That's my experience anyway, if you wanted more elaboration on why I think like that. The bill is a little bit pointy, not bad. But ergonomically, you can hang on to it. I'm not going to call it comfortable. These are flat, and the edges are chamfered down. It's just kind of a weird shape. Choked up is okay. This is a little choked up spot. You can kind of get your index finger right in here behind the blade. Curiously, there's no jimping whatsoever. There's kind of a nice little place to, land your thumb. It's not beautifully ergonomic, but it's fine. It's okay. I think the average person will be like, yeah, okay. I mean, I can hold on to it, right? I mean, it's silly to it's not like holding a pine cone. A pine cone is much less comfortable, right? This is okay. Blade shape, I'm going to call it a sheep's foot. You can call it whatever you want. It gets not bad, kind of medium behind the edge. There's a black wash finish, which is probably my least favorite finish. But you can get these in a couple of, you can get it, I believe, in like a satin or tumbled finish, and then you can get it this black blade. But it's fine. The blade shape itself is actually really great for EDC. You get a little bit of a tip. The nose drops down, so doing draw cuts or shaping cuts is really, really nice. This, unfortunately, says, it's the same kind of deal that we see with Concept. It says Tenable, and then there's like a code, and then there's the blade steel, and then there's the designer. And then it says Doc, which I believe is also the designer. Then it also says Prometheus. Like, to somebody who didn't know better, they would think it looks like little kids practicing words, like with chalk on the driveway. It's just, sometimes I go outside and I look at what my kids have been like just writing words, like all over, it's just unrelated words. It's so weird. You want to put Tenable on there, you want to put the blade steel, and you want to put the designer logo small. I think that's okay, but why do we have all this stuff? Why? You know, it's so weird. Imagine like every part of your car had a label that said what it was. You know, it's not fair. It's not exactly what's happening here. I always do like the car and like the windshield sticker joke. But it's just like, why? It's so much, you know? I don't want to be too nitpicky because this isn't if this was like a multi-$100 knife, I'd be pissed. I mean, like, what is it? What the heck? You know, like Microtech does that and it drives people crazy, but it's fine. I don't want to be too nasty about it. Real bummer that they couldn't find a way to add a pocket clip for lefties, but it is cool that it's titanium. A couple of standoffs back here, that's about what I expect. In and out of the pocket is fine, right? There's a ramp. This is peel ply textured, but not aggressively. I'll let you guys kind of look at it up close. When I got this, it was real dusty. It had like a debris film on it, so I just sprayed some water on it. Wiped it off. Totally fine, right? You can see a little bit of that residue left in there, but it does come out because I kind of had to clean it. Still, though, that's not something that people like to see on a brand new knife, even if it is easy to get rid of. You can, if you order one of these and you get it and it's got that, whatever that is on there, it's probably just like dust from the grinder. Like when they shape these, it's probably like debris from the air, like I don't know. That would be my guess. It came off really easy, but people don't like to see that, even on an inexpensive knife. So it'd be nice to receive these clean. There is a stop pin located. Actually, the stop pin is attached to the blade, writing on channels carved out of either side of the steel liners. So lockup is nice and solid. That's what I expect from Concept. So it's no surprise that's what we're getting here. There's no lock stick. It's very close to double clutch. In fact, earlier on in the review, you saw me kind of like miss a little bit right there. See, it's not. If you let that drop all the way to your finger, that detent ball is up on the face of the blade, but it's right there, right? So be wary of that. That's a little bit annoying. Some people don't care, especially if you close your knife like this, right? Or if you close your knife like this, which is what I would call a normal, rational way to close your knife, right? In that case, you're not going to care. Runs on bearings, probably a given. No pivot lash, no blade play up, down, left, or right, no lock stick. Consistent, nice and consistent in here. Not anything that's going to blow your socks off, but for the price tag, not bad at all. Nice clicky detent and perfect centering. So that's great. Is there any pivot or detent lash? No. This is a $50 knife, I'm pretty sure, $49. Kind of cool. Got a couple of stylish elements. I don't really expect too much from this territory. But the combination of the somewhat unique styling elements, the titanium pocket clip, and the 14C28N, those are major bonuses for the price point. Got a little bit of a clunky overall shape. Close to double clutch, and that pocket clip is just way too long. Also, you gotta have mounting positions for left-handed people. Like, come on, right? And we also don't, come on. No more free spinning pivots. That's just silly. Like, let's get rid of that, right? Still though, not bad. It is a good, inexpensive knife. It's not a knife that I'm gonna say, oh my gosh, everybody's gotta have it, right? That's what I reserve my recommended knives playlist for, or generally speaking, right? But I am going to put it in my cheap knives I like playlist because it is under $75 and it's pretty good, honestly. I mean, if you pick this up, if you really like how this looks and you pick it up, you'll probably be happy with it. So that's going to be it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.